A very warm welcome from Ricoh and myself, John Chambers, to our Work Together Anywhere series, giving you a secure and integrated approach to remote working to help really look at how you can stay connected, stay productive and stay secure. Today, if you all, this is the first in a series of our practical webinars to give you, some real tools and insights in to be able to navigate remote working, which I'm sure is familiar to all of us in the current climate. Certainly within Ricoh, our teams have been set up and are working from home and are really, a case in point of trying to drive flexible working and really around our people to look at how you can be productive, stay productive, work internally as well as your customers. What I've got for you today is we've got a panel of experts that are going to share some insights on how we can really help to automate some of the mission critical process and processes within probably your businesses and how we have and the things that we can help to assist with around digital transformation. We've got a number of things for you in terms of how we're going to run today's session. Please submit the questions on the Q&A bar, which we'll pick up at the end of the session. So there's lots of exciting things we're going to go through today, really taking you through how you can support your people within your organisation, how you can use the right collaboration tools, many of them out there, how do you deploy them, what are the right selection of tools to use, how can you protect some of the data and, increasing from things like ransomware, how you can look at really business continuity and how that can and your plans and how we can assist you with that. I think today the challenges that we're facing, with our own organisations, with our customers and some of our partners. I think what we've seen in the first phase of what's happened with COVID-19 has been a real focus around remote working and access to systems. I think, as we've seen that move forward with organisations having to react, how they can support their people and use tools that can, empower their teams to collaborate. I think we've seen that probably within April and moving to now where organisations are really thinking about, how we can start to plan, an enhanced level of remote working, but also, that focus on security. I know many organisations have had to really look at their security posture and how they can allow remote workers to access the corporate network, but also some of the concerns that they may bring. I think they're moving forward as we look to how we're going to look to return to work around contingency and planning. The facts and the things that you need to really focus on when you're thinking about your return to work. For your people and the environment that you've got. How can you model that? If you're moving out later into 2020, how it can be modeled, especially the focus around social distancing, the hours of work, and then the ability then, later in the year in the future to really reimagine the workplace. I think most of us will agree that, things are never going to be the same again after, this pandemic. And, but that gives a real opportunity to look at and reevaluate your organisation, look at the tools, the technology and the processes, and looking at how you can, create that adaptable workplace for your people, really enabled by the right processes and the right technology. So, fast transition. I think we've seen, businesses have had to be quick and be agile to get out of that remote, the remote working phase. I think lots of us, from a personal and from a business perspective, it's an uncertain times, and trying to gain some clarity allows us to really get that level of control to look to plan. The business continuity has been a real challenge for many organisations, especially the balance of where you're looking at physical assets and documents, digital assets and content, and the ability to sometimes cross where processes are crossed between those two elements, how you can really plan, your continuity to recover and maybe take some of the lessons that may have been learned during, these times in order to take that forward. And also the tools. We all live on video collaboration and video calls. It's definitely become the new normal for us and lots of positives for us. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to move on to experts that we've got in today. I'm going to first hand over to Mark Price. Mark.
Thanks, John. Thanks very much. So my name is Mark Preece. I look after communication services at Ricoh. What does that mean? Well, the clue is in the name. It is the services that provide communication to us all, and that's a lot of people, a lot of you may understand that as maybe audio-visual, telephony, unified communications, digital signage. Basically, we're there to try and help people stay connected and productive. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been looking at over the last couple of months. So, 2 months in, how's it going for you? And I think the general consensus, certainly from the feedback that we have, is that actually people are adapting to working from home pretty well. I think people can be quite resilient. Some people may not be used to it. Some people may be actually enhancing an experience that maybe they felt they were very good at, but now they're taking it to another level where working from home every single day, when you don't have a choice but to do that, is very different from the occasional working from home. So a lot of the questions here are things that people may ask as a one-off, what's working, what's not. But this is actually something that you're going to have to start thinking about going forward, because the working from home response is going to be something that's going to continue for quite some time. And this isn't an environment that we've had that's for a couple of weeks long. This is something which we've been doing for about 2 months now, and that changes people's behaviour. So people are very much used to working at home now, although be it people have different capacities to do that. And these are some of the things that you need to ask of yourself, of your company, and of the staff that you have. Is, what could be improved? What feedback are you getting from people that are working from home, and how have they adapted to that technology? Now, there's certain people that will be very used to using, for example, Microsoft Teams or WebEx. There may be people that have never used it ever. So, how are they adapting to that? And how are these different responses prioritising the way that you're going to communicate going forward? People are going to be very used to communicating over video, over conferencing, audio, but ultimately trying to keep that face-to-face element of the meeting alive, even though they're not able to actually go and sit in front of somebody. So, what platforms are you using for your video conferencing is an important question to ask. And how are you going to enable that when people do have that hybrid option of working from home, but also there's going to be offices open. People are going to go back to the office. There's a certain way that people have been working, and they're going to expect that to happen when they go back to the office environment. Also having a look at how this impacts your IT infrastructure. There's lots of different applications out there. Anybody can download a variety of platforms to join a meeting, but how is that impacting your IT security and your infrastructure? And then the different peripherals that come with that. There's lots of different ways to be able to buy equipment, but how much of that has been approved by the IT procurement element? So all of these things are to look at how things can be improved. Ultimately, that's what we want to do, is help all of our customers to embrace the changes that are sometimes forced upon us, but then go forward and be able to make that something that's easier to work with. So we've had to think about how we can support home workers, and some of you may be aware, some not, around the Ricoh eShop, which is a dedicated website for our customers to be able to order up to 70,000 Office and IT products. So what it does is by being an actual onboarded process through Ricoh, through your account manager or through our procurement service, it avoids having to worry about shadow IT elements and prevents employees going off and buying things on their own. There could be two trains of risk with that. One, it could be that you don't necessarily want that equipment being plugged into your corporate network or laptops, but also you don't really want to end up with home workers putting in expenses for cameras and speakers and microphones that maybe they've paid 3 or 4 times the price that you as a corporation could buy through our eShop site or through procurement. So it helps you to be able to avoid those elements there. We can deliver directly to employees' homes or to the workplace, and again, that's going to be centrally managed by you. It's not something they're doing themselves. We have a chat function on there as well, which allows people to be able to ask questions around the products that they're looking at. And we have created a dedicated site purely for home working. So there's no confusion. There's no trawling through 70,000 products. There's a dedicated site there that gives you information around different varying levels of requirements that might be needed from home, from general, run-of-the-mill headsets right up to some rather expensive and fancy monitors and room kits and video conferencing equipment that maybe directors or executives may feel that they need because of the quantity of video calls that they're having. So that sort of takes care of the home working bit. The other element that really needs to be thought about, and this is where we are trying to speak with as many customers as we can to help them on this journey of what they do, and I mentioned it earlier on, is about what to do when people go back to work. So one way or another, and I'm sure all of you follow the news as religiously as everybody else does right now about what's going on, there's going to be phased responses and phased getting back into the workplace. I believe from the research we've done and the feedback that I get that home working will be a much, much bigger thing than it is before, but there's always going to be a place for the office and there's always going to be requirements to work in the office. But now, because of the way that people have been working, it's more important than ever to be visually connected now. There's a lot of people that are at home completely cut off from anybody for a very long time. And being able to visually connect with them via video conferencing is sometimes, that's a way of not just being efficient in your working, but including people in that day-to-day communication. So the habits of people that are going to be used to doing that, that's going to remain, and they're going to have to be able to have that same experience when they go back to the office. Now, a lot of you have got varying levels of technology in your offices. If you remember what that was to be back in the office, ask yourself the question, how many of you now will be able to go back into the office environment that you're used to and start up a meeting as quickly as you've been used to doing it at home? And I would say there'd be a large percentage of you that would really struggle to be able to do it in that easy way that you've been used to from your laptop. But, and on this slide here, it does explain some of the main partners that we work with. All of these companies will have and do have either cloud video platform licenses or hardware that will make that option as simple as what you're used to doing at home. One touch starts, integrated with your Outlook calendar, being able to set meetings with people that are placed all over the country or groups of people that are in an office environment, and be able to everybody have that same experience of one touch, start the meeting, so that you're continuing what is a trend that's been forced upon us over the last couple of months, but being able to do that across multiple solutions. That's what we do that's what we do day to day in communication services at Ricoh. We talk to customers about what solution is going to work for them. We've got lots of partners that we work with. We're supplier agnostic. It doesn't matter to us what products you feel are right for you. We just need to make sure that your solution works for what you want to do. And that's what we are there to do in communication services, is to make sure that whatever problem you have, we help you find a solution, we help you implement that solution, and we work with you to make sure that that carries on into the future. So that's all from me. John, is there any sort of key messages you wanted to take away from that at all?
No, thanks, Mark. I think some really great points there in regards to, we've all been home working, living and breathing it. So I think we can all, relate to the fact that you need to have the right equipment, from a health perspective, as well as, getting the right experience. There's some great points there. And I think it's return to the office, making sure that you can then continue with that with an increased number of home workers, but you're in your meeting room. You want to, if it's Teams you've been using, you want to activate that straight away and get people on from different locations. Then, it's really important that you can continue that moving forward. So some great points. Next up, we've got Paul Ryder. So he's going to take us through some, some other things around infrastructure and cloud. So, Paul, over to you.
Thanks, John. Hi, yes, I'm Paul Ryder. I'm the Transformation Services Director here at Ricoh. What I wanted to do is review the services that I'm going to highlight that entirely support the messaging that you've already heard so far today. These are solutions that can be provided remotely, and they support the wider objective of working together anywhere. That's going to start with, the agile and remote assessment. It provides organisations with a concise understanding of how employees are coping with the current working environment and those technology demands that are within there as well. It provides a valuable information on how organisations and users are coping in the current climate, as well as a clear view of what will need to be considered in the working world as it evolves. The assessment provides guidance on where support and investment may be required, but also what is working and what isn't, and where to start in that ongoing journey of change in how we work now and into the future. As a solution, it's easily and simply shared with our clients in an email link, and users complete the questions and we capture the feedback in a simple to view dashboard. Something like this. We capture that feedback and then we take the findings, collate them into a traffic light RAG status, which is delivered in a PowerPoint deck, and then this is then supported by a more thorough report where offers clear guidance and objectives on what steps need to be taken first and foremost in that transition journey. And if we look at some of the examples that we've already seen from feedback from other assessments, it tells us that there are challenges around accessibility and document sharing, and this means that we could be in need to invest in security and infrastructure, consultancy and standard collaboration tools, or even training. We've certainly seen a number of users that are using their own desktop PCs and laptops, and this relies on, of course, them having up-to-date antivirus and malware software installed on those units. And also a number of third-party apps are being used for communication. These include WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Google Hangout, Zoom and House Party, for example, as well as Dropbox and Google Drive. And these are being also used for transfer of documents, both internally and externally. And all of that clearly creates a security and compliance risk for any organisation. There also remains the need for paper-based documentation, and some users are relying on paper documentation being emailed to them, or they have to go into office to collect that paper. Sensitive and personal information is often stored in some of this documentation as well, which in turn, when it's being moved around insecurely, can create various areas of compliance and risk. Users are storing documents in multiple locations, and most users are storing in OneDrive or C drives and CRM systems, but then we're also seeing Dropbox and Google Drives and the like being utilised as well. So this causes version control issues, duplication of documentation, and again, more security risks. So application performance can also be a major issue that we're seeing for a number of our clients as well, particularly around application access to that one app that you need to do your job every single day. And if the performance isn't quite there, it can have a major impact on the working from home process. This tells us that a number of organisations don't always know what the challenge is that their users are actually facing in the remote working environment. And how do you manage an entire estate of home workers? It's not an easy task by any means. How can a business know the full implication and working pressures of every home worker? And how can the information that's being highlighted be captured, quickly, securely and swiftly reviewed for action? With the agile and remote assessment, we provide a range of data, and this can be quickly reviewed and any actions implemented as a priority. At all times, the employees are at the forefront of any of these decisions. And of course, as I mentioned, we always need to be wary of the implications of it. Unfortunately, traditional perimeter security is no longer enough for us. There are a range of challenges again now that provide a wide range of security risks. Malware is on the rise, and it's a sophisticated crime. Simple statistics tell us that 63% of disruptive breaches were discovered by the people, the users, and not the technology, by which time it can often be too late. We also know that 66% of remote workers have not received cybersecurity training in the last 12 months. And with the increase on phishing attacks, this can have a major risk to any organisation. You see which of the files are encrypted and where they reside, and how do you identify which user and which device initiated the attack? Within Ricoh, we have a proven last line of defence within our security offerings, and we can reduce that overall risk significantly, and we can certainly answer both the questions I've just highlighted there. We also have a solution for the provision of hardware supply. Which is device as a service. And this is fully supported by our Ricoh Capital division and includes a wide range of services as well as the device itself. And this is costed on a per user per month basis, which is designed to provide the full services that the client requires with that full functionality available to them. Some of our other offerings, smart teamwork is a key one for us. But when we step into the world of actually working remotely, the implications, the processes, the governance and support, how do we ensure that the use of the collaboration toolsets are achieving the levels of performance that we require? What are the hints and tips and additions to working remotely? And what can we provide by way of additional help and support? Now, we've delivered a number of client sessions over the past couple of weeks around this offering with a great turnout and a desire to obtain them further support and information afterwards as well. The assessment, which I've already mentioned, helps capture what we need to review and improve upon, and our solution is all about helping organisations function as best they can, and we can offer solutions that enhance productivity even in these difficult times. User analytics and remote reports, and how do we help organisations manage the well-being of staff, make sure that they are using the tools in the right way, monitoring performance, and ensuring simple things like the management of calls and usage of within the appropriate boundaries. The objective is well-being. There's a duty of care associated with multiple video calls that we're making all the time. I'm sure we're inundated with them. And how can this have an impact, and how does this affect employees that are working remotely? All key elements that we need to consider around that whole home working environment that's certainly at the forefront of our areas of discussion. Now, I'm going to post Thompson, but I believe, John, a few points you'd like to raise first?
Thanks, Paul. I think, again, some great insight in terms of, lots of things I'm sure everyone on the call can relate to in terms of, really looking at what the new normal is going to look like with a massive increase in home working. I think that ability to look to benchmark and get feedback from your users, before you make any decisions is a really great idea to invest in. So I think the assessments are really fundamental to making decisions. I think also security, absolutely, everyone I know has been key, and again, it's in the news with huge increase in ransomware attacks. And then I think everyone's had to learn to collaborate differently, and using smart teamwork, but also the ability to really look at analytics on a personal basis. If you're a manager, or if you're trying to manage a remote team, really trying to get to grips with productivity and remote working. So some really, really great points. So thanks for that, Paul. Next up, we're going to hand over to Lewis.
Thanks, John. My name is Lewis Thompson. I'm one of the pre-sales consultants for workflow within Ricoh. And today I want to talk to you a little bit around document management and how it can help you in this current climate. So, pre-COVID was 85% of our office workers or workers worked in some sort of location, and we would work with our CRMs, our EDP, ERPs, a whole bunch of different software solutions alongside paper, which all resided in an office. And then obviously COVID happened, and we had to implement social distancing and remote working wherever possible. And subsequently, a significant amount of the working population moved to being remote workers, disconnecting us from our hard copy print and basically some of our productivity. The solution that we to talk to you about, a little bit about document management, is when you think of document management, absolutely forgive me for thinking it's all about paper. It's all about grabbing content off the page, storing it somewhere, backing it up, and making it really accessible. And that's absolutely part of what it does. But the whole concept of document management now is about not just grabbing paper. We want to grab your electronic data as well and unify it in a single platform. So it's ultra searchable. You can generate reports and view it from anywhere. And we can effectively unify your hard copy data streams and your digital data streams into one platform, which is DocuWare. Ware has been around for around 15 to 20 years, and it was originally built on digitization. So we were generating a lot of paper. We have copiers. Let's put this paper into a digital format and store it somewhere. And that's kind of the first step of DocuWare. However, DocuWare built on that, and they said, well, we're grabbing these documents and we're storing them, we're building naming locations, but what about if we could intelligently index them? so we can search the data within a word within a file. If we wanted to integrate it into our CRM or ERP systems, so we scan it in, throw it into DocuWare, and then throw it to our solution. And what about if we could move content anywhere with a smartphone, a tablet PC, or a computer, encrypted end-to-end, so make it ultra-secure as well. And the latest version of DocuWare has allowed us to build automation, so we can effectively, a hard copy purchase order, for example, can come into an organization. It's digitized, it's backed up, the data is pulled out of the document, and then it's sent on a journey, so it goes to purchasing, for example. And then we can set some intelligent rules around it. So we can set it so if it's, for example, under £50, it's passively approved. If it's over £50, it goes to a specific person. If it's over £1,000, for example, it may go to the financial director. Is where we start getting clever with document management. We're no longer just grabbing a file and backing it up or making it accessible. We're starting to shave inches off the amount of workflow that we need. And it doesn't necessarily be documentation. It can be obviously your original hard copy office documents, your scanned documents. It can be mobile capture, so you can take pictures with your phone and start ingesting it into your workflow. It can be e-forms. So we can generate a form that will, within DocuWare, that will actually create a document that will back it up for example, for HR. We can also unify PDFs, emails. So effectively, we can take all this raw data material and we can start doing interesting things with it. So we can use data enrichment. So when we search a specific customer's name, we can grab everything, all the emails, all the PDFs, all the scanned documents, and we can search it intelligently and quickly. We can build rules-based routing, so we can send all that information on a journey to maybe integrate into your CRM, or maybe to be searched or browsable, or if we wanted to generate a report from multiple data sources. DocuWare gives you the ability to search, archive, and build workflows that will save your organization time. So, where's true benefits are, you can work together anywhere, you can access information at a fraction of the time that you would normally, and you can build in all that automation that makes your organization more productive. So I'm just going to hand back over to Murray.
Thanks, Lewis. I think, DocuWare got some fantastic functionality, and that's why, was an acquisition by Ricoh in the last 12 months. I think you've seen, with the move to remote working, the real need to connect those processes and workflows, and that across physical and digital content. So I think DocuWare, does give you some really answers some of those questions and gives you a solution that can help deliver for businesses and overcome some of those challenges. So thanks for that, Lewis. Next up, I'm going to hand over to Martin Taggart. Martin.
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. My name is Martin Taggart. I look after the business process services side of Ricoh. Business process services, I suppose, the biggest question that most of our clients have as multiple offices throughout the UK, how do we do it? How do we get that? How do we access that documentation? Ricoh's service effectively offers from the start of collection of the documentation, whether it be in a mass project or it be on a daily basis, to a centralised area where it is then converted into a digital format, which is then uploaded into centralised document management systems of your choice. Back onto the scanning and uploading services, there are two main areas that we concentrate on doing it. On site is literally what you would class as the digital mailing side. Now, one of the misconceptions in the industry is digital mailroom is just looking after mail that's incoming to the business. Any business generates any amount of paper throughout any given day of the week. How then do we actually get access to that, especially from a remote worker's point of view? Your on-site solutions will effectively take that paperwork, digitise it and put it into any back-end system. The other option that we do give clients is the fact that we can come on-site, as I said previously, take your documentation away. We can, from the whole process from collection to audit to preparation to scanning to destruction, all the way through to a certified level. One of the key areas on this is the British Standards 10008 accreditation service that Ricoh are one of the few companies in the UK to actually hold. So that then has the effect of the documentation itself for the legal admissibility of that piece of documentation going into a court of law. Now, the backfile and scanning, which again we have found, especially since COVID-19 has really taken hold of the country, is the key. Now, there is a reason that the BS 10008, most of the people on this call have some sort of experience on using either 9001, 14,000, 27,000, which is key for digital information. One of the key areas that is probably one of the least known is the 10,008 accreditation. Where it really comes into its own is in your areas such as finance, especially in HR, medical health, occupational therapy. The documentation, albeit scanned, has to be scanned in a particular way. Ricoh as a business have the accreditation for 10008, so you can rest assured that when the documentation is returned to you in a digital format, it is legally admissible, which is key for any business going forward. All the other areas, the scanning, the OCR, the PDF, the quality control, all form part of this process, with ultimately allowing us to upload into systems like Docuware. Point of view, the real benefits from you, we kind of broke these down into 6 particular areas. Some of them are pretty straightforward. Real estate, you have boxes. You have boxes all over the UK. Boxes take up space. Space costs money on a square footage basis. Outside that, you have the secure side of it, the compliance side. Paper is risk averse. People can access it, they can do what they want with it, they can take it home, they can lose it. You know, what we do with the scanning part of this is we put processes in place, right, that make your business more agile but actually more compliant from that point of view as well. That linked to some of the clever pieces of business intelligence that we've got around artificial intelligence, around using that information, you can actually make more informed decisions on how you're going to move your business forward from a digital platform. One of the key areas that Ricoh as a business have been instrumental in is actually helping the NHS due to the current COVID-19. We have the capability to upload into a number of dedicated NHS back-end systems, so we're one of the few suppliers that can actually offer the full service from, for example, collection of a medical record directly placed into System 1, into EMIS, into DocMan, amongst other solutions itself. And that is really just an overview of what business process services can bring to you. John, back to you.
Thanks, Martin. I mean, I think, you know, we've spent a lot of time, you know, talking about processes and talking about technology, but I think, you know, it then does need the people, and I think this element really helps to, you know, to help organisations, and it's been proven, I think, especially in this the current climate where that part of the business is very, very busy, helping organisations, you know, to be able to really, you know, get the physical documentation and to be able to get that into the system so it can be accessible. So I think some great points there, Martin. So I think, you know, we've seen, you know, as we're all very familiar with the remote working, the ability around, you know, collaboration, the ability around devices, and you know, once we've addressed that for our home workers, how we can then, you know, securely look to access, you know, the network and not compromise any of our data or systems. I think, you know, that was then backed up by the infrastructure and cloud, you know, how we can collaborate between teams, you know, using whether that's video conferencing, whether that is using, you know, other technologies to really drive the ability to get data that can make a real difference. You know, I think our approach is really, you know, looking at using the technology. It's looking at the processes and really connecting these to help you as organisations to overcome some of the challenges that you're seeing today, and some of the ones that, you know, you're planning for in the future. So I think to bring us to a conclusion, to please get in touch. Hopefully you've enjoyed and it's been of interest today with some of the topics we've touched upon. We can organise follow-ups. We're more than happy to do that with the team. There's some great content out there to access to get the latest insights. We've got a workbook, an ebook that you can read at your leisure and take some insights from that. I think, what was today, we've been really busy over the last couple of months helping customers through a variety of different challenges, and many of our customers are talking to us about some of the things on screen there. Whether it is the physical documentation and how they get that into systems, whether it's the technology that can help them, whether it's the re-engineering of processes in order to adapt to the way that we're working now and the way that we need to work in the future. So some great things we've been talking to our customers about, and we'd love to talk to you about. And now you've got the chance to sort of ask us some questions. So hopefully you've been using the function. If you haven't, please add your questions in, and we'll look to answer them. So questions. I think we've got a few that have come up. We'll take a few. So regarding the agile working digital assessment, can you run and deliver this safely and remotely? I think I'll hand that one over to Paul Ryder.
Hi, yes, thanks, John. So the assessment is really just a simple, secure email link to a number of questions. So it is very secure. The email is followed by the employee. They follow the link and respond. Then if they respond accordingly to that, we then collate that data into a range of review formats that we'll share with you. And it clearly highlights the elements that need addressing and specifically into some form of priority so we can address those points first. So secure, it's easy to access, so very straightforward.
Thanks, Paul. Next up, I think we've got one in, probably for Lewis really. Someone's asked around the cost of DocuWare. Give us a bit of a view on that, Lewis.
Yeah, it generally does depend on how many users you've got, how much data you're looking to store. Those are the two big elements, and then obviously on the back end of it, how many workflows you're looking to build and how many subsequently that'll impact how many PS days. But we have delivered solutions particularly for mail capture, which we refer 15 users, is around £10,000. So that's about your starting point, and then we build on from there depending on what the customer would need.
Thanks, Lewis. So I assume really with customers on the line who are interested in DocuWare to get in touch, and then we can get some of our teams to sort of help scope it out for them.
It would be an evaluation on each customer requirement.
Excellent. Thanks, Lewis. A question on, let's have a look. I think we've got one in regards to looking at really see if there's a change in physical devices that we use on a daily basis to better support increased virtual working. I think probably a combination of Mark Priest first, changing the physical devices that we're using to support remote working.
Yeah, I think there will be. I think over the last couple of months, most people have probably got on with what they have available, as in a webcam attached to the laptop. Maybe some people will be lucky enough to have a speaker or a mic. I think as time goes on and people have more of an acceptance they're going to be working from home, we could see some better quality webcams. We are looking at actually being able to work with one of our partners to build almost work from home office units, if you like, because we think there's going to be a big take up that people are just going to be a little bit more prepared for working from home from what they probably were a couple of months ago.
Thanks, Mark. Paul, anything else to add to that one? Paul Ryder? Oh, Paul's on mute.
I've got much to that. Yeah, come on. I think Mark,
we've definitely heard that a few times on mute over the last few months, I'm sure. So, Paul?
Yeah, I think Mark pretty much covered that one off for us, didn't he? More or less.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if there's anything to add. Okay, next up. So do you have engineers that can go out to people's homes to help set up their home office and support their home workers? I'll answer that one, and we've got a large engineering force in the UK, and we do support both in office, and we have helped a number of our customers with their home workers and helping them provide that support. So again, if anyone's got specific challenges or needs some assistance, we can definitely help them in that area. A couple of things really, some sort of ones around copies of the slide deck and getting the information. I think you can definitely, you'll get a link that will be sent out and you'll be able to access the audio and the slides. Also use the function just to get in touch with us, and we can pick up on a one-to-one basis to help you with any requirements that you may have. Let's have a look what else we've got come through. Thank you. Appreciate all your systems coming through. And let's have a look for any other questions we've got. A few ones on RPA. Do you see RPA playing an increasing part with the office and working from home? Again, Paul Ryder first, and then maybe Lewis in terms of robotic process automation.
Sorry, John, a little bit of technical issue at this end. Could you just ask that question again? Keep cutting in and out.
Yeah, around robotic process automation and playing an increasing part within the office and working from home.
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think any issues with regards to, or any consideration with regards to working from home, it's really getting under the skin of what the actual challenges are. And I think through the assessment process, we really do capture those challenges, and then we can adapt the relevant service and solution, to each of those needs, which is where we can look at things like smart teamwork, where we can look at the various different options that Martin covered off, and a range of other technological solutions to help in that environment.
Thanks, Paul. I think another one for you, actually, whilst we've got you there. Someone asked around antivirus and why they would need ransomware and ransom care solution. I think we've had that from a number of questions with obviously the security ransom care solution that we've got out there, powered by Bullwall. So it'd be good to answer that one. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think it is interesting. There are many different security options that are out there currently. I think the key thing here to consider is that many of those standard applications and certainly perimeter-based security is rarely enough these days, particularly with the efficiencies and smartness of how these criminals are attacking with malware options and phishing, etc. The beauty of the solution that we've got is it quickly captures the solution at source and locks down the perpetrator straight away. It locks down that particular unit that's uncovered that issue. And I think one of the stats is something like 63% of virus and malware attacks start with a user clicking on the wrong thing. And the advantage of our solution is it stops that pretty much in its tracks. So it just adds that additional secure layer to give that comfort that the solution is actually protecting the business as a whole.
Thanks, Paul. And I think, that security, it really has been heightened, I think, by remote working. So we've got many customers who are talking to us around that solution right now. So, if it's something in an area that you need to really look at, then please get in touch. Another one come through. How do you get the ebook that was mentioned? Mark Ivans, can you help us?
Yes, sure. You can access the ebook really from our website, directly from the Work Together Anywhere content on our corporate website. You can access the ebook directly from there.
Okay, if anybody that's great.
We'll send the link, and then we'll make the process even easier for them.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Keep the questions coming if you've got any other ones that you may have. I think we've answered many of the ones that we've got. Let's just have a last check, see if we've got any ones there. We've got one around DocuWare, probably for you, Lewis. The options around hosting, hosted internally or in the cloud, or what options have customers got there?
We have an on-prem offering and we have a cloud solution, so it just depends on what meets the customer's requirement.
Okay, so again, it's you got the options for both. It's a case of again, working with the customer and the organisation to look at their specific requirements and recommending the right option for them.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. Keep the questions coming. Can a very small business in terms of employees, but working for a large company, benefit from what is being discussed? I think that what we've discussed today, I would say that we've got customers from very small SMB up to huge corporate and enterprise and across public sector. So I would say definitely, you know, there's a range of products and solutions that fit any size of business. So definitely, if that's you know, you need some advice, then please again feel free to get in touch, and we'll see how we can help. A couple of others that we've got. Let's just have a look. I think we nearly answered most of them today. One that we've got, given that many of the issues are urgent, how quickly could you deploy a digital document management system? Probably for you, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the size of the solution. We've deployed solutions in a matter of weeks, particularly over this COVID period where we've had to grab, for example, a company that needed invoices. We've been able to provide a solution within, I think it's 5 working days, because it was mission critical for them. But obviously it does depend on the scale of the project and how many workflows they want. But, you know, we can turn things around very, very quickly.
Thanks, Lewis. Last few, if you've got any others, please, the window's still open, so please put your questions in. One on the scanning side, I know it was mentioned, and I'm not sure everyone on the call, around the accreditation, the BS 10008. And what implications if that's not adhered to when you're scanning documents? Probably Martin, one for you.
No problem, John. To put it simply, John, if you have an electronic document that hasn't been scanned under 10,008 and you're no longer in possession of the original document, and again, to put that in context, when 82% of businesses who do a scanning project destroy the original document because they have a scanned copy, quite simply, do not take it to a court of law, because it will be non-admissible in a court of law because it has not been scanned under 10,008. So it's a real dilemma for a lot of businesses who have been doing this for a period of time without fully understanding the implications of 10,008 and scanning. Hopefully that answers that, John.
Thanks, Martin. I think we've got time for probably the last couple. One in around their current connection with Ricoh is around the printing side, and really can they access support to look at the wider business needs? Absolutely. We've got customers that work with us on the print side, on the IT services side, or maybe on the scanning, imaging, archiving. So yeah, all of our customers or anyone who works with us has got a full range and options and access to the full range of capabilities and services that we have. So yeah, definitely get in touch, and then we can look to help you where we can. So I think that wraps up all of the questions for today. So I do thank everyone who's attending the call. Thank you very much. I hope you found it interesting. Please get in touch, and also look out for the other webinars in this series, which will be coming over the next number of weeks. Thank you very much.